Hi everyone, this is just going to be a very quick little video on brainstorming, especially as it pertains to your literacy narrative, which is your first major assignment for this class. So coming up with an idea, sometimes that's half the battle when we start talking about our papers, because you have a lot of free range with this literacy narrative. It's a story about something that happened to you. And especially with your relationship with literacy, which is reading, writing, and speaking. And so start with a little bit of introspection. Start thinking about, okay, what is my relationship with literacy like right now? And why is it that way? Is there something that happened that made me maybe love a particular genre of book, or pursue the stage and acting because you love giving kind of like these speaking roles? You know, what is your current relationship with literacy? And it does not have to be all hunky-dory. I mean, I have a love-hate relationship with several aspects of literacy. I love writing, and there are times where I just cannot write. I get a lot of writer's block, and even though I have a lot of experiences with writing, sometimes it's hard to do. I can remember one particular assignment where I thought I did an absolutely fantastic job on the paper, and I wound up with a B on it because I had one subject-verb agreement mistake. And that was a really negative experience for me. So it made me really nervous the next time I wanted to write a paper for that particular class. Speaking, I love speaking, but that was not always my relationship with that particular aspect of literacy. I used to be terrified to speak in front of a crowd, and I can remember different times in elementary school and middle school where I was asked to speak, and I can remember my heart would start pounding and I would start sweating, and I hated it so much. Now it doesn't bother me, but there was a lot of development in that particular aspect of literacy for me. So start thinking about that. What is your relationship like with reading, writing, and speaking? Spend some time and just think about it. Write it out if you need to. But that's the first place we need to start, is introspection. What is that relationship like? Make a list of events you might want to write about. And these do not all have to be positive. I don't want you to assume that because this is an English class that you need to write this paper that's like, oh, my relationship with reading and writing and speaking is all fantastic. And because it's not. Sometimes our greatest influence on literacy is a negative experience. And don't be afraid to go deep. Sometimes writing can be very therapeutic, and writing about an event that was upsetting can actually help one process it. But don't feel like you need to. I don't want you to ever write about anything that makes you feel uncomfortable in this class, because we're not therapists here. Sometimes it's not the time or place. But I mean, if there's something that you just really, really want to explore, I don't want you to be afraid to do it. So these are just some ideas. You might want to include maybe reading with your parents at night. Think about a teacher who influenced your relationship with literacy, and that can be negative or positive because we all have those instructors in our lives. A book or song that really spoke to you. And yes, you can use a song. A lot of songs are simply poetry put to music. And I think that all of us have that one song that just kind of speaks to us. And so if you want to write about a song, that's great. You can talk about your first time performing in a play, or a time you had to give an oral report. It's really wide open. You have a lot of things that you can pull from here. So what you do is, once you get your list, rank what you would like to write about. Put a 1 beside the thing that kind of stands out to you the most, and then a 2, etc., etc. Talk it over with someone. You don't have to but for some students, they find it really helpful that when they're having trouble deciding what they're going to write about, it's like, hey, I've got this list. Do you think maybe you could help me maybe talk out a few of these ideas to see if this is going to be the topic I need to write about? But also know that you're not locked into a particular topic. When you start the writing process, it might not be working out. That's happened to me several times. That happens to students all the time, but they feel like, oh, well, I've already picked this topic, so I need to see it through. That's not the case. You can start over. But this is a pretty quick assignment, and so you won't have a lot of time. I would say even up to the point where we're doing our rough drafts. If you bring in your rough draft and you're just like, this is not working. And after we do the peer review and everybody else is kind of like, yeah, maybe you might want to switch, you'd really only have a couple of days, but you can still switch your topic even to the rough draft stage. So once you do kind of have a topic idea, do a bit of pre-writing. I don't require formal outlines, but sometimes kind of making that roadmap can help you to know if that's a topic that you really, really want for your paper. So just do a scratch outline, just kind of quickly sketch out the direction you think you want your paper to go in. Some students like to do a web chart. You can even do a formal outline if you want to. Sometimes I find formal outlines can be a little bit constraining, but I mean, if that's something that you feel like really works for you and it's worked for you in the past, then just do a quick outline. It might be very, very helpful, but it's not something that is required for this assignment or really any of the assignments that we do in this class. If you're still having trouble kind of coming up with a topic, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be glad to sit down with you and hash out some ideas. Remember, Friday mornings, except for this Friday, and I do apologize for that, I'll hold some office hours, so you always feel free to come in and chat if you want to, or you can shoot me a quick email or a text and say, hey, I really don't know what I want to write about. And we'll talk it out because, as I said in a few earlier slides, sometimes talking it out with someone can kind of help you come up with an idea. So that's just some ideas on how to get started with some brainstorming for this literacy narrative. We're going to be going over a lot of details over the next few weeks in regards to narratives, and even that will segue into some scholarship writing, because a lot of scholarship writing is actually narrative writing. So as always, just feel free to reach out if you have any questions or concerns, and don't forget to complete the assignment in your Dropbox, your reflection for this week.